Okay, X. I need to talk to you about something and tell my story. I'm telling you right now, don't expect any sort of satisfying conclusion, barring a major breakthrough. Also, if updates come slowly, it's because I was told by my psychologist to take my time and get every detail I possibly can. There will be some parts written that will be more for setup than anything else, and green text parts will be, quite literally, flashes taken from my memory. This whole ordeal takes quite a bit of concentration, so please bear with me. When I was 8, I had a gap in my memory. This gap was over a little over 12 hours and took place during a family weekend at our cabin in a state park. I could remember waking up in the cabin on our second day there, early in the morning, to go snowshoeing. Then I remember pulling into the driveway out of the home later that night, with my family who were all dead silent and me feeling terrified. I had nightmares for 2 years that would wake me up, screaming. My sister did too. My parents were never mad at us. They were very understanding and never asked what the nightmares were about. I never asked my sister about hers. I knew in my gut that we both dreamt about the cabin and our final weekend there. That's all I could remember about them. They were about the cabin. I was running. And nothing else. It got to be too much for me after 2 years, having this gap, not remembering. I finally built up the courage to ask my dad, "Why don't we go to the cabin anymore?" I remember the look on his face. The blood had completely drained from it. He looked horrified, then angry, then confused. He asked me, "You don't remember?" His voice was quiet, a whisper. I just shook my head no. He looked relieved. He put a slightly scared-looking smile on his face and said, "There was a fire and it burned down. It was pretty bad and you were young and scared. Rain must have hid the memory of it from you, so you wouldn't be scared anymore." My brain can do that? Yes. Your brain can do some funny things. It's all to help you, though. So don't think about it anymore. Okay. I was in. It was my dad, no reason for him to lie to me. Except about Santa Claus. Of course I believed him. And I would have gone on believing him if I didn't overhear him that night. I had a TV in my room and bedtime of 9 p.m. at the time. My sister, being 4 years older, would get to stay up later. One of my regular habits would be to watch TV after I went to bed by muting it and putting the captions on. So that night I did the same thing. When my father thought I was asleep, I could overhear him talking to my mother and sister. I won't bother you with the whole conversation, just the important parts. He doesn't remember. Repressed, probably. Told him there was a fire, not to dwell on it. If he asks any more, tell him one of our lanterns got knocked over when we were setting up dinner. I didn't sleep that night. Hard to do so when you find out your whole family is conspiring against you and you don't understand why. And at 10 years old, I was too damn afraid to confront them about it. The years went by. I did my best to forget that my family was lying to me. I really was too afraid to know what happened. Nightmares kept up. But I got better at dealing with them. I stopped waking up screaming by the time I turned 11. The year I entered high school, my grandma had a stroke and my mom retired to take care of her, state trooper for 20 years. My dad was one as well and retired at 28 years. Their careers are somewhat relevant later. I started falling into depression around then, actively thinking about killing myself. I don't know why. I just didn't want to keep going. My parents had guns, I knew where they were. Quick and painless. I almost did it in my sophomore year. Couldn't will myself to pull the trigger. I was 20 when I decided I had enough. My first girlfriend lasted 2 years, cheated on me, broke up with me, and I didn't see a reason to go on anymore. She knew about my past attempts and history of depression, only one I ever told to that point, and got scared and called the cops on me. I was put in a psychiatric institute for a week and was put in touch with a psychologist to help me. By the time I met with my psychologist, I knew I wasn't a danger to myself anymore. I decided that I couldn't do that to my family, and it wasn't some medical professional who made me come to that decision. It was my uncle. He owns a vending company and stocks the machines. One of his clients is the psych institute I was in. He pulled me aside at lunch and begged me to do what I had to get better. He told me how my dad informed him of what happened to me, how he was sobbing uncontrollably, how until my dad got the words out, he was afraid his brother was telling him that he was sick and going to die. That got to me. Not particularly relevant, but it's one of the most important moments in my life. It helps to show why I made some of the decisions I made after. So I looked forward to seeing a psychologist. I wanted to figure out my problems and get better so I would never even think of putting my family through that again. Doc was really nice and I opened up to him immediately. We just sort of hit it off really well. Maybe it was my eagerness. Maybe it was because I felt like he genuinely wanted to help. Probably both. For 7 sessions, 1 a week for 7 weeks, I talked about my life and childhood, everything and anything I might think would be relevant, and even the stuff I didn't think was. I answered his questions as best as I could. He sat and listened to me. It was on the 8th week that we finally touched on my dreams, and the blocked memory of the cabin. I don't know why he waited so long. I had admitted that I had trouble sleeping due to nightmares almost all my life, and my 3rd session wasn't a follow-up until now. Maybe he was just trying to get to know more about me, and get me more comfortable with him before he broached it. But he broached it. He did. Let's talk about your nightmares. You've told me you've had them consistently since you were young. What are they about? I can't remember them ever. Just little bits. I'm at our old cabin. I'm running. I'm scared. Nothing else. I told you about our cabin, right? Yes, you said you spent a lot of time there when you were young. Sounded like you loved the place. Did something happen there? Yes. What happened? I don't know. I can't remember. My dad says there was a fire. You don't believe him? No. He lied. Why do you say that? It was then that I related to him everything I currently know. The lie my father told me, the agreement between my family to keep up the lie, and, of course, the total block of what happened. A blocked memory of a cabin from childhood, nightmare sense, family not telling me the truth, for my own good, depression years later, and a suicide attempt. I was every psychologist's wet dream, and I knew it when I saw Doc's eyes, that he had written this up to one of 2 things. Number 1, I was molested. Number 2, I witnessed a murder. Number 3, both. Don't think it hadn't crossed my mind. I had pretty much written that off as what happened, especially once I started unblocking pieces of that memory, and parts of it fit. The more I remembered, though, the more I realized that's not what happened. So don't go writing me off just yet. So this is when Doc and I got to work. It made me start keeping a dream journal and writing as much as I could about the nightmares the second I woke up. We did meditations during the session, and had me practice at home. He even took me to a friend of his who was a hypnotherapist, where I was told I wasn't susceptible to hypnotism, probably because I believed it was total bullshit. I threw myself at unblocking the memory with Doc's help. I was done running from it. I was done ignoring it. I even told my family that I knew the fire story was a lie. They still wouldn't tell me a goddamn thing. My father actually almost took me off therapy after that, which I knew was a risk, but I begged and pleaded not to. He finally relented, but still wouldn't talk about that day. At the advice of Doc, I even revisited the cabin once. I went in the summer and during the day. It was a ruin and burnt to the ground. I'd gotten pieces of that day back by then, and I knew there was no fire, and I have made the assumptions that my fire came back at some point and burned it. 4 fucking years. I did all of this for 4 years, and still am. I don't have all the memories back, just pieces. I have filled page after page, book after book, with details of my nightmares. Repeated and repeated until finally something new would come out. And I would repeat and repeat and repeat until another new thing came up. In those same journals, I would sit and write as much as I can remember after each meditative session. Doc and I don't know what happened. Not the whole story. But we're still piecing it together. I brought up sharing the details with you guys and seeing what you thought. He was initially against it because he didn't want your judgments and theories to cloud over my memories. After a while, though, he agreed to it, and on the condition that I don't jump on whatever you guys say. I reassured him that I have done too much work to buy into whatever explanation a group of anonymous people come up with. So here it goes. Everything I remember. As accurately as I possibly can. Morning. Wake up. Parents asleep on the bed. Sister in sleeping bag next to me. Pull my snowsuit and snowshoes on. Go outside for a walk through woods. Sun shining bright off the pure white snow. Get walking. Clean smell. Crisp cold air. Crunching of snow beneath my feet. Stick to trail, not too far. Reach tree with blue marker nailed to it. Go off trail to the right. Copse of trees. Little snow fort sister and I built. Go inside snow fort. Add little things to it. Fridge and storage areas. Make beds a little nicer and smoother. Good work. Start making snowballs to pelt my sister with. Feel the cold snow between my now ungloved fingers. Carefully craft the perfect snow spheres. Wrong. Something feels wrong. Bad smell. Rotting animal. Snow crunch. Think sister. Snow crunch again. Noise not coming from direction of trail or cabin. Crunch. Smell gets worse. Dead silent. No animals. Nothing. Smell. Crunch. Crawl out of snow fort. Crunch. Silence. Laugh. Not me. Not laugh, but sounds like laugh. Can't breathe. Smell. Crunch. Behind me. Turn. Laugh. Not me. Paralyzed. Horror. Can't see it. Right in front of me. Don't want to see it. Blank. 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 Running. Branches hitting me. Cutting cheek. Fingers ice cold. Numb. Crunch. Laugh. Not me. Smell. Behind me. Scream. Running. Cabin. Crying, screaming, running. Cabin door open. Parents run out, sister too. Grab me. Hold me. What's wrong? Can't talk. Crying. Laugh, not laugh, behind me. Crunch. Parents, sister, look up, scream. Blank. Screaming, yelling, inside cabin now. 2 laughs, not laughs, outside. Bang on door. Bang. Smell. Laugh, not laugh. Screaming. Parents. Guns. Click. Safety's off. Mom. Tears shouting, can't hear. Sister screaming. Me. Numb. Laugh, not laugh. Smell. Banging. Blank. So that's my story, X. From what I can tell, there was one at first, then another must have shown up either before or after we made it to the cabin. I think my parents managed to kill one of them, or at least seriously injure it, since I only saw one of them as we were driving away. It sounded angry. I can't remember what they looked like exactly, other than they looked like people but weren't. The exact features are lost in the blanks. They weren't people, I know that. If we were attacked by people, my parents wouldn't have been so goddamn scared. And they're both very distinguished and respectable police officers who retired with the respect of everyone they worked with. If someone attacked us, they would have reported it. Even if they killed one of them, it was self-defense. I don't know what the fuck they were. I'm still trying to remember, but I don't know if I ever will. There were 2 laughs outside the cabin. Sorry if I didn't make the distinction that there were 2 different laughs instead of one that repeated twice. I can remember seeing 2 at some point as well, but I don't really recall when. The blanks make it tough. Maybe when my parents were shooting them, I don't know. If I get through more of the blanks, I'll come back here to update. Though since it took 4 years to get that much, I wouldn't expect an update for a while. If OP is still here, could you tell us if they look like this? In the video, when it was screaming at the lady, shape of the mouth, the teeth, it's hitting something. I can see it smiling. I can see it screaming. Fuck. Why can't I see past the mouth? There's something there on the edge of it. I can't tell you who fired, what they look like while firing or anything like that. It's just lost to me. I can tell you the number of gunshots, though. There are points in my memory where I can't see anything, but I can hear. And other times I can't really hear anything. It's distorted, but I can see. And then there are times when everything is blank, times when everything is distorted. Loud noise, don't know what. 5 gunshots, 2 sounds from the left, 3 from right behind me. There's a pause. Fuzzy noises, some loud, shouting, maybe screaming. Blank. Running. 3 gunshots now. Can't tell where they are relative to me. Maybe 2 more after that. I confronted my family. We talked. I remember everything and wish I could go back to forgetting. That's it. Sorry, guys. It's hard. The thing is that my family has been dealing with events of that day. Things they saw for the last 16 years. They still had real trouble even forming words to describe things. It's all new to me. I can't touch too close to certain parts without, dissolving into a mess. These creatures, when you looked into their eyes, you saw things. Things you can't imagine, don't want to imagine. I went into the forest. I was at the snow fort when the smell hit me. I could hear something moving. I went outside the fort, looked, and there it was not 5 feet from me. It was smiling at me. Red lips, lots of sharp pointed teeth. Its skin was dark. Not black, just dark. The eyes were green. I fell back, startled. That's when I looked into its eyes. I went into some sort of trance state and saw things. Horrible, evil, awful things. When it hit the ground, the trance broke. I wasn't falling for 5 seconds, but it felt like I was in that trance for a lot longer. I don't think it realized that I had come out of the trance. I got up and ran back to the cabin. It laughed that fucking laugh and chased me. Remember how I said I cut my cheek on a branch? That wasn't it. The second one of these things was waiting on the trail. I ran past it, and it made a casual grab for me. The fingers on the hands were like knives and split the skin on my cheeks so easily. I reached the cabin. My family was outside. They were asking me what was wrong. They saw those things come out of the trees. My dad picked up my sister and I with one arm each and ran into the cabin. He slammed the door shut and locked it. He and my mom got their guns out. They were as scared as my sister and I were. They had no idea what the fuck these things were. We could hear them outside, laughing and banging on the door. They each put a few rounds through the door, and still that fucking laughter was there. Still the door was banging. No one noticed it. It wasn't banging as hard and as fast as before. That's when the window shattered from behind us. One of them had gotten around back and broken through it, while the others had us distracted at the door. It slipped in. I don't know how else to describe it. It moved like a snake made of smoke. The fucking thing laughed, and the one outside laughed. My parents said they looked into its eyes. They went into the trance like I did. While they were frozen, the other came around and slipped through the window as well. This one caught my sister's gaze. She was lost. They didn't seem to need to keep eye contact to hold the trance. It was just one look and it was done. Both of them were now moving towards us, while trying to catch my eye. But I wouldn't let them. I didn't want to go back and see that again. They didn't move fast now. It was like they knew it was over. They had no need to hurry. I remember how falling had jolted me up, so I shoved my dad as hard as I could from behind. He fell forward onto his knees. That was enough. He shouted at me to get the door as he grabbed my mom and sister. The gentlest shove broke them out, and we were running out to the car. The creatures were moving faster now and came after us. They were still doing that laugh, right up until my dad turned around and shot one of them. He shot 3 times and I turned my back to see one of them go down. The one that was still standing looked angry and screamed so horribly it made their laughs seem natural. We managed to get into the car and my dad just floored it. I looked back and the thing was still standing next to its fallen friend, brother, and still it screamed as we drove away. That's how it ended. That's what happened. It's just a sketch. I guess we have a thing. Skin and eyes are wrong color. Put the mouth into a smile. That's damn close otherwise.